We're going to get started in just another minute or so at 1:30. But while we're waiting, take a moment, open up the Q&A and introduce yourself. Where, tell us your name and where you're calling from. Welcome, Irene. Sean, Corey, welcome everybody. This is fantastic. Well, while everybody's introducing themselves, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to today's Into It QuickBooks webinar series. My name is Jeremy Miller, and I will be your host. I'll be your speaker. And today, I'm going to take you on what is going to be a really deep dive on brand messaging and brand marketing. So as we get started off, take a moment, introduce yourself in the chat, tell us where you're from. But let me just take a moment to introduce myself. As I said, my name is Jeremy. I am the founder of Sticky Branding. And I have written a couple of books, both Sticky Branding and Brand New Name. But today, what I want to work with you on is to give a ton of value and a ton of insights into a concept called simple clarity. And simple clarity is really the core of your brand messaging. And what you're going to learn today is how can you describe your business and sell your business in 10 words or less. Isn't that amazing? But before we get into this, let's just take a moment to set a bit of a social contract. We have all become so familiar with Microsoft Teams and Zoom and webinars over the last few months, but how do we create this really engaging experience? So as you're introducing yourselves, I want to just try and level us up. This Q&A area is our dialogue box to chat. So I'd love to see if we can create a two-way dialogue. So what we can do through today is, as I'm sharing some ideas, some stories, feel free to comment, add your insights, add your experiences, and share what you are learning as we go through this. And at the end, we're going to do a Q&A. And in this, I'll try to answer as many questions as we can within time. But let me start this off by really posing a broad level question. What is your number one burning marketing challenge? In the Q&A, take a moment and think about this for yourself. Everything's changed this year after coronavirus. So what is your number one burning marketing challenge for today or over the next few months? And what could I help you out with? So if you could post some of those questions into the Q&A section, that'd be amazing. And this is what we're going to try and do. We're going to have this interactive session. And my commitment to you is I'm going to bring you as much value as I can. And we're going to try and work together to create a really meaningful experience here. Because this is very much this brave new world that we're in. We're going to look back at 2020 as having this very clear dividing line, BC, AC, or before coronavirus, after coronavirus. And we've all gone through this. All of us have this shared experience where everything in our lives has shifted and changed so much this year. But for me, this moment, especially going back to March of this year, hit me at a very deep and visceral level. And the reason for that is I grew up in a family business in the recruiting sector. And I can tell you in vivid detail what each and every recession has been like, starting with the market crash of 1989 and the recession that followed in the early 90s. Now, at that point in time, I was a teenager, but I remember the pain that my parents went through. They had to close offices, they laid off staff, and not only did they make sacrifices at work, they made sacrifices at home. And what I remember most of that period in time was having to miss out going on a class trip to Chicago. Now, it feels really strange to talk about this now and talk about this a decade or two later, but it was a moment that I remember because of where I was. And if you think of it through the lens of 2020, Our children, ourselves, we are all going through sacrifices caused through social distancing and stay-at-home orders and all this type of experience that is reframing so much. Now, as we go forward on this chart, every time you see a spike on it, really this was where there was a recession and the unemployment rate spiked. And in the recruiting industry, our business would go up and down with the economy. And every time there was a recession, our business suffered. So when I joined my family's business, we really timed it. We went and I joined at a trough. That's where that leap job mark is in 2004. But from the moment I joined my family's business, we were thinking about the next recession. We didn't know when it would hit. We didn't know what would trigger it. We just knew through our history that there was another one around the corner. And from the moment I joined my business, that family business, we were planning and thinking of how we would never deal with the pain and suffering that we had gone through in the past. And in the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, when the rest of my industry was cratering, my business thrived. We were bringing on a new customer per week on average, and we were able to really grow the business. And the success of that actually allowed me to sell my family's business in 2013 and transition to what I do today, which is work with organizations around the world to create sticky brands. Now, I have not shared this slide or this story before March of this year. It was never relevant. But as the sequence of events hit in early March, it changed everything. And I can remember the dates just clear as day. On March 11th was when the travel advisory bans were announced. That was a Wednesday. That was when the NBA season was canceled. By Friday, that was when the rest of the sports teams were canceled, but that was also when was the last time we saw many of our friends and colleagues. And by the Monday, Tuesday of that next week, the 16th, 17th, we could already see the layoffs happening. And this pulled back all that muscle memory that I had grown up with. And I went to my clients in that very, very early stage of the pandemic, and I said, look, we are being flung into a recession and we need to get ahead of this thing quickly. And I shared my story with them. We shared the strategies that we used within my family's business. And we really started to pivot and look at new ways to thrive and grow our businesses this year. And out of that, I changed my entire approach and thinking, especially when it comes to my business, Sticky Branding. Before coronavirus, I would say Sticky Branding is a strategy consulting firm. We help companies grow sticky brands. Today, what we have been saying is Sticky Branding helps companies recover the customers and revenue taken by COVID-19, and we help you slingshot your business out of this crisis so that it's stronger than ever. And this shift is really to highlight the kind of things that we're all going through today. Every company, every person has had to shift their value proposition and marketing strategies after coronavirus. And what that means for all of us is we have to be that much more deliberate and specific of how we tell our stories. And that's what I really want to highlight today is how do we go back to basics and tell our stories in a way that is credible and meaningful and moves the sales needle? Because this is actually really hard. Before coronavirus, the way I often described marketing was it looked a lot like Pee-wee hockey. It was a bunch of little kids skating around the ice, having a grand old time, but they never actually shoot on net. You watch these kids for a little while, it's hilarious. They're just going crazy. And to me, this is what marketing often looks like. Every customer is treated the same, every campaign is treated the same, and no one gets a shot on net. And what we really want to try and look at is how do we get better at this? And the problem that I think we all face today is how do we do that? And the thing that I can see is so specific in our marketing is that it's the way we talk. And you hear it, it's we are the oldest, we are the greatest, we have the best customer service. We. But please, please, don't wee all over your customers. Nobody likes to be weed on. And this is the greatest marketing challenge that all of us face. All of us have this propensity to use we in our marketing. And I'm making a joke here, but this is actually very serious. It's very real. Take a look at your own website and marketing collateral. Do you speak in you and I, or do you we? And if you're weeing, this is really a quick highlight to say there may be a flaw in your marketing, because this is the signal that people may not actually be connecting with you. And so what I'd like to share with you and teach you today is a concept called simple clarity. And simple clarity is the ability to describe your business and what makes it unique simply, succinctly, and in the language of your customers. And the ideal is to be able to do this in 10 words or less. And I'm going to share with you a whole bunch of tools and examples on how you can do this. And if you stick with me all to the end, I've got some free extra worksheets and guides that will help you out to implement these ideas as well. But I think simple clarity is the foundation of every brand. It's actually the first principle of my book, Sticky Branding. This is how important I believe this concept is, because when you gain clarity, you make your brand more findable, more referable, memorable, and desirable. And it's the foundation that sets everything up. So let's look at a couple brief examples. The first is big ass fans. In 3 words, you would know exactly what these guys do. They make big ass fans. And I love the whimsy and fun of this brand, but it's so clear. The company was actually started as HVLS Fan Company, but their customers kept calling them up and asking, hey, are you those guys that sell those big ass fans? And after a while, management took notice of this and they leaned into it. And as a result, this has become one of the most iconic B2B brands out there. The company's been featured at Dreamforce, which is Salesforce.com's annual user conference. I actually wrote about them in my latest book, Brand New Name, and told the story of just how they've grown. But in 3 words, you know exactly what this brand is, and it makes it sticky. Let me give you another example. Patriot Software. If you pay attention to cable news or cable TV in the United States, you will see this brand. They are a prolific advertiser in the United States, but they always say the same thing in every single ad. Patriot Software is accounting and payroll software for companies between 1 to 100 employees. It's not overly catchy, but you know exactly what it is. And so how can you speak to that is really what's so powerful. And what this really is saying is that what your marketing is doing is behaving like a label on a file folder in your customers' minds. Oops, I'm getting a bit of a technical issue. Let me turn off my webcam to see if I can improve the feed here. If we're having any technical issues, just message it in the chat and we'll deal with that as well. So one of the things that we want to look at here is that simple clarity is like a label on a file folder in your customer's mind. And that label doesn't have to tell you a lot of information, but it is giving you a really clear indication of what this business and brand is. And a label, the simple clarity statement, this metaphor really has 3 key elements. First, you want to make sure that your label is short, ideally 10 words or less. It's descriptive. It has a clear explanation of what's in the contents of this, and it's memorable. It's easy to share, and it's hard to forget. And what we're trying to do today is really to be able to find the words that stick in a customer's mind. How do you get it so somebody understands exactly what you are in a first meeting, at the first line of your website, that you're able to categorize them? Now, this label doesn't have to have all your value proposition, doesn't have to have all the words on it. You just have to make your brand memorable. And to do that, what we have is a very simple formula, which is really 3 questions. Can you answer the following? You are, you do, you serve. So what is your company? What's its category? What are your services and who do you serve? And we're going to come back to this model of you are, you do, you serve in a few different ways this morning and this afternoon. But what we want to try and do is get our brand and distill it so that it's so clear anybody gets it. But the irony is, this is actually incredibly difficult. So often we thrash around and we can't find the words that stick. And so what I have found in all of my years marketing my own businesses and others is, what are the ways to find the language that's going to work? And what we really want to look for is, what are our customers' language? How do we speak in the language of our customers so that they get it? And I can tell you firsthand that this can be really challenging. For example, when I joined my family's business in 2004, the first thing that I did is I rebranded the company. And we went through a whole cycle to reposition and rebrand the business from an IT staffing firm to a sales and marketing recruiting agency. But the problem was I hated the word recruiter. I literally hated it. It had all this negative connotation to it. People referred to us as headhunters, and I wanted to find a better way to describe our brand. And I came up with all these statements that I thought would be better, like sales talent agency and search consultants and talent acquisition specialists. And it actually proved to be the worst because I would go out and I would meet somebody and I'd say, "Hi, my name is Jeremy. I'm from Leap Job. We are talent acquisition specialists." And they would literally look at me like I was cross-eyed. They'd go, "Oh, that's cool." And maybe they were polite and they changed the subject and they talked about something else, or maybe they just didn't care and they'd move on. And either way, it was so frustrating. And it was often I felt like I was in sales purgatory where I was all alone. And this is the hardest part. When your messaging doesn't resonate, when it's not clear, you have all these conversations and they just seem to fall flat. You put it out in the world and nothing comes back. And it's just isolating and frustrating to be going out and talking to prospects and customers and referral partners, and they don't get you. And so, what's the words that they use? Now, to develop my marketing, what I really started to look towards was I actually started looking at Google Analytics, and I actually saw an interesting trend here, which was, oops, which was when we looked at our Google Analytics, we started to see search traffic where people were visiting us, and in the keywords, three words kept popping up again and again: sales, recruiter, and Toronto. Sales, recruiter, Toronto. And this was really interesting for me because it was like being hit with a hammer. It was so obvious. That was our brand messaging. Leap Job is a sales recruiter in Toronto. We're a sales recruiter in Toronto. As soon as we started saying this, sales took off. It became easier to go to networking events and speak to people. I could say, "Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm from Leap Job. We're a sales recruiter in Toronto." And they got it. It was the label on the file folder in their mind. But then we put this on our website and our inbound leads took off. And it was three words that changed everything for me. And this was the moment in time. We're going back to say 2004, 2005. So a long, long time ago. But it was in that moment that I learned the power of simple clarity. That when you get the words right, when you speak in the language of your customers, sales take off. Nothing will accelerate your business and brand more than achieving simple clarity. So you can look to find the words that stick in a couple of places. One is to look to your website traffic, Google Analytics, the Google Keyword Analyzer, or you can actually ask people. One of my favorite techniques is a very simple exercise called the ski lift survey. And all you do is you create a survey that premises it that you are taking somebody to imagine that they are on a ski lift with a person. And as they're going up the lift, they have 10 minutes. And just imagine that you spark up a conversation. The person next to you is really, really nice. And they ask you about your business. And they start to tell you a little bit about them. And what they ask you are really three questions. Tell me about your business. What is it? What kind of clients do you work with? And how do you help them? And if you can put this together in a simple little survey, then share it out with your team. If you have employees, send it out to all of your employees and ask them to answer how they would respond to this person on the chairlift. And in that, you start to get language. You can even take this out to your customers and referral partners to help them describe the words that they would use to help tell your story. And when you get that language back, put it into a word cloud. Here's an example from Fifth Story, which is a content marketing agency in Toronto. Now, when we did the ski lift exercise, we sent this out to all of their team as well as several of their customers. And out of it started to come a few keywords. Content marketing company were the big ones. But the one thing that we found, and this took some additional digging, was it wasn't just content marketing, it was branded content marketing. What Fifth Story does is they create rich content like video ads and other pieces of content that are used by companies in, say, TV spots and others. It's basically content marketing. So, but it's that branding of it, that you are doing a product placement, you're telling a story using your products. And in that, once they got the language, it became so powerful. And the key to all of this is to be listening. Listen to your customers, listen to the words that they say, because they will give you a lot of insights into the words they expect. Now, as you choose this, the words, the key to it is to look for concrete words. These are really important. Concrete words are words that will paint a picture in your mind. So much marketing is focused on what I would describe are abstract words. An abstract word is a word or phrase like solutions oriented, best in class, innovative. It's all those big puffy words that we see on our websites that really anchors that we type of approach. We are the most innovative, solution oriented, best in class company in the world. Ugh, it's gross. But the bigger problem of abstract words is you can't actually picture them in your mind. And when you can't picture a word in your mind, you can't put a visual reference to it, it becomes very hard to remember. Let me give you an example. Here are 3 slogans based on the word innovation. Now, these are all big companies. So the first one is a tradition of innovation, driving American innovation, and innovation that excites. Now, all 3 of these are automotive brands. Do you know which ones they are? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's Firestone, Ford, and Nissan. Do you know which goes to which? What's actually in that order? I've done this kind of exercise over 100 times, and I still could not associate each one to these labels. And the reason for that is the word innovation is abstract. There's nothing to anchor it on. You have no idea what it is. And so while it might sound like great marketing, it might sound puffy and smart, and it speaks to what you do, your customers actually don't know what it means. And that becomes the ultimate problem here. What we're looking for is concrete words. Let me give you another example. At the early 19th century, the smartest minds of our world were studying this interesting phenomenon in space known as totally collapsed gravitational objects. Totally collapsed gravitational objects. Now, a totally collapsed gravitational object is when a star collapses on itself. It basically dies and it collapses on itself, and the gravitational forces become so great that not even a particle of light or an electron can escape from it. And this fascinated people like Albert Einstein and Robert Oppenheimer and many of the smartest people in the world. The men that were really working on the Manhattan Project that created the first nuclear bomb were all studying this. And they would actually go around the world and they would give tours and talks to talk about totally collapsed gravitational objects. The thing was, only the smartest of the smart could talk about this phenomena because you had to know the math. That is, until Andrew Wheeler, another one of these ultra bright astrophysicists, came up with a better name, black hole. And in 2 words, Andrew Wheeler took this abstract, nebulous concept and brought it down to all of us. It made it accessible to all of us. And we can totally picture what a black hole is. We know what black is, we know what a hole is. Put the 2 together and put it up in space, we'll go, oh, it's an area of space that sucks everything into it, and not even a particle of light or an electron can escape from it. And now a layperson can actually have a conversation around something that is very theoretical in nature. And that's the power of concrete words. They allow you to have a visual anchor, and it allows it to take a concept and make it accessible to anyone. And when you look at the best brands in the world, they all use concrete words. I'll give you 2 examples. The first one is M&M's. This is one of the most classic slogans in history. Melts in your mouth, not in your hands. It's just so clear. Now, you probably don't know what the candy tastes like, but you have a very clear sense of what this value proposition is. If you're in a theater or if you are eating something over a long period of time, it's not going to leave you chocolatey and sticky. You're going to be able to basically not have it melt in your hands. It's going to melt in your mouth. Totally get it. Or let's give you a modern example. Who doesn't love HelloFresh? Now, HelloFresh is fascinating because they say they are a meal kit delivery service. 4 words, you totally get it. And then they back it up with just really great language. Farm fresh, pre-cut ingredients delivered to your door. This just is in your mind, you fully can see all of these elements. You know what farm fresh is. You could just imagine that this is the nicest, ripest fruits and vegetables. It's pre-cut and washed. Who doesn't love that? And it's delivered right to your door. You don't have to think, and that becomes immediately memorable. And that's what great marketing does, is it paints a picture in your mind so that people can understand it. And when you create understanding, it creates appeal. I fundamentally believe that any company of any size can grow a sticky brand. It's a choice. And what it is how do you get your customers to know you, like you, and trust you? And when your customers know you, like you, and trust you, they will choose you first. And that's what makes your brand sticky. And the foundation of this, though, is making them memorable. And to make it memorable, it's got to be clear. So let's take this idea of concrete words and push it even further. The next principle here is just the facts. What we are dealing with today is how do we actually make our brand really understandable? And we want to make it short, ideally 10 words or less, because what we're striving to do here is to create basically a Googleable brand. Google has changed all of our marketing. When you look at classic marketing slogans and taglines like melts in your mouth, not in your hands, or a diamond is forever, this was some of the best copywriting and marketing of a generation. And Google broke all that because we don't search a diamond is forever. We look for a wedding ring or a diamond wedding ring in Oakville, or we look for very specific things in order to find what we're looking for. And as a result, we are thinking in categories, we're thinking in terms. So you could be a bookkeeper that works with small businesses in Kelowna. Got it. That's what the phrase and description of you are, you do, you serve. Or maybe you are an accounting firm that specializes on working with multi-generational family businesses. You are being clear so that people can find you. And the way we find things is by thinking in terms of Google. So let's take this you are, you do, you serve and break this down into an example here. I'm going to introduce you to Shift Coaching. Now, rather than telling you the story, let's use the simple clarity formula in order to understand this brand. Because this was a situation where Shift really struggled to tell their story because they compete with giants in their industry. But when you get to the facts, it's really simple. So you are. Shift Coaching is a leadership coaching company. You do. They help managers and leaders perform more effectively in their jobs. You serve. Well, Shift works with mid to large size organizations that are going through a transformation. And when you look at this, it becomes very specific. Shift Coaching is a leadership coaching firm that works with companies that are going through a transformation. Now you've got a label on a file folder, you can understand them, you can understand where they're coming from. And in that, it makes their marketing so much easier because now they can tell their story and speak with authority. And it also helps them from a sales context because when you know this clarity, you can actually turn it into questions. So what Shift does when they are selling their services is they really ask their clients 3 questions. Number 1, are you looking for coaching and leadership development services? If yes, go to the next question. If no, it's probably not a prospect, so they can move on, talk about wine, talk about the weather, whatever it is. But first things first, are you looking for their category? Next, does your company have between 200 employees and 4,000 employees? Their services are best designed for mid to large size companies who have a lot of managers. And then finally, is your business going through a shift or a transformation? And this is actually the key question here because Shift is competing against giants in their industry, but what really separates them, what they do better than anyone else is work with organizations that have to shift their culture. And these could be government entities that are going through a regulatory change. This could be private sector businesses that are going through a merger and acquisition, or it could just be companies that are dealing with disruptions in their industry. After coronavirus, we're all dealing with these disruptions, so Shift has been busier than ever. But what they do brilliantly is coach managers to be more effective and help them change the culture of their organization. And by being clear on that, they're able to actually be that much more effective in their marketing. So you try this out. We can actually put this into the chat. Try it for yourself. You are, you do, you serve. What is your category? Who do you serve? Or what do you do and who do you serve? You could be an accounting firm that provides audit and finance services that specializes in working with multi-generational family businesses. You could be a fashion retailer that creates brilliant clothes that make people feel more comfortable and feel more beautiful on the outside and feeling from the inside out. Whatever it is, what is it that resonates with you? Now, what I'm going to share with you is not only you are, you do, you serve. Let me give you one other way of doing this, because we're going to try and pack in a whole lot of insights here. And this talk today is recorded, so you'll be able to come back and reference these ideas as well. But you could also try a simpler version of this. For example, you could try just saying your category plus your passion. I am an accountant that specializes in working with multi-generational family businesses. I am a fashion retailer that loves to make people feel beautiful on the outside. And what this is really saying is, this is what I am, and this is what makes me different. And this is a simpler way to get there. So you are, you do, you serve are the basic building blocks, but this is another way to think about it. What is your category? What are you? And then what are you brilliant at? Let me give you an example. Cardinal Couriers is a logistic or courier company that specializes in pre-8 a.m. package delivery. That's what they do. If you go to their website, you will see pre-8 a.m. is repeated ad nauseum on this website. That's what they do. That's their specialization. And they do that better than everyone else. And it's a very clear niche. They're competing against giants like UPS and DHL and FedEx. But what they can do better than anyone else, more cost effectively than anyone else, is having your packages available and delivered to you overnight. And so look at industries like car dealerships. When you take your car to be serviced, often the mechanic will say, we need to get a part, we'll give you your car back tomorrow. Well, the thing is, the car dealership isn't keeping all the parts and inventory inside their dealership. So they call to the main distributor or the main warehouse, they order their parts, and that night, Cardinal has access to their facilities. They open the doors, they put all the boxes in a designated area. So when the mechanics come to work the next day, they can go to the space, get the parts they requested, fix the car, and you get your car back the next day. So it's a brilliant little niche. It's their category plus what they do brilliantly. And so you can look at this as well as, how can you tell your story in a very simple and concise way? Now, as you do this, this is where the rubber hits the road. Does it sell? If your marketing and your messaging does not sell, it is not working. For me, the measure of success of any brand is how it moves the sales needle. And that's really what we are really striving to do today, is to create that label in a file folder so that you create quick understanding. And when people understand you, they're more likely to buy. When you confuse them is actually when you create dissonance. When somebody meets you or goes to their website and they're confused, they take a step back and they look to other options. Doesn't mean they might not buy from you, but it slows them down. And in a market where you have so much competition and so much choice and everything's Googleable, speed matters, understanding matters. So the best way to test if your simple clarity statements work is to actually go out and try them. And it's not to try them online, it's to go out and talk to your customers, your prospects, and your referral partners. Tell them your statement and see if they get it. And what you want to do is to try and tell your statement 10 times. Go to somebody and go to your customers and say, hi, my name is Susan. I am from XYZ Bookkeeping. This is what we do brilliantly. And in that moment in time, you're going to be able to see if it works. But here's what I encourage you to do. After each time you do your pitch, take a little exercise called a win-loss card. And a win-loss card is basically a survey that you can do. You can do it on your own, but what you want to see is what resonated, what were any questions or objections that you received, and did you get the customer to go to next steps? Now, each one of the times you deliver these pitches, you probably aren't going to learn a lot, but if you can do 10 of them, you'll start to see trends. And it's in that you will actually be able to perfect your brand messaging. And what I can tell you with absolute authority is if you can deliver this in person and it works and it sells, then it will absolutely work when you put it on your website. The biggest mistake that we have is we put all this marketing and all this messaging out on the web and on our marketing collateral, and we spend all this money and we have no idea if it's going to work or not. And the problem is we only update our websites every year to 3 years. So it's really slow. But if you can go out and proactively talk to people on the phone, in person, even over chat, and be able to tell your story, you will really start to see within a few weeks, do you have the right brand messaging? And you'll know it when you see it, because when you deliver the pitch and someone goes, cool, and then they ask you how, then you know you've got it. It's when you have to explain yourself and to go into, this is what we do and this is why we do it. And you know that moment where you just start talking, that's what we're trying to avoid. It's to get to quick understanding. So this win-loss card, if you'd like to get a copy of it, I'm happy to send it to you. I've never actually published this up on the website, but it's, if you send me an email at jeremy@stickybranding.com, I'll be happy just to send you back a PDF with the worksheet on it. You can print them out, try them, and get this out and start testing your messages right away. So send me an email to jeremy@stickybranding.com. Just put in the subject line worksheet. I'll send this back to you. I really want to make sure that you're getting the tools and resources today so that you can execute on these ideas. Now, I want to take a moment now and segue a little, because why is clarity, why is brand messaging so difficult? And you might have picked up on this already. It has nothing to do with wordsmithing or copywriting. The reason why clarity is so difficult is it requires making choices. This is the fundamental issue that we all are facing today, is we need to actually choose where we are growing our businesses and our brands. And I love to ask 3 questions. Where do you play? How do you win? And how do you want to be known? Where do you play? How do you win? How do you want to be known? And this ties to the 3 questions of simple clarity. You are, you do, you serve. What you're really trying to do is be specific. One of the things that drives me nuts more than anything else is when people say, I'm a one-stop shop. If you Google another way to say one-stop shop, you will see I have an article there that rails on this. I've been railing against this for years. The reason it doesn't work, it's the worst marketing message ever, is that nobody can be a one-stop shop. That's just saying I'm all things to all people. Even Walmart and Amazon are not one-stop shops. They have defined customers and where they can be brilliant. They might sell a lot of stuff, but they are better at certain things than other things. And so are you. Where does your business play? How do you win? And how do you want to be known? And it's in making choices, it's in getting to clarity in your strategy that will make your brand messaging easier. So the mistake that we often find is when you're using we language and innovation and abstract words, it's because we're not being decisive in choosing how our brand is going to be successful. And today, I think this is probably the most important thing that we all need to face right now. So to come full circle from where we started today talking about the coronavirus, every value proposition has changed in 2020. Yours has changed, mine has changed. We are all facing a different market. And we need to be able to adjust our language and our approach to speak directly to our customers and their needs after COVID-19. And this is actually tricky because you have to be able to speak in a way that gets people to engage. And there is a risk because your brand won't survive this pandemic if it's perceived as opportunistic or icky, but it will thrive if it's perceived as helpful. And this is really why your brand messaging, your simple clarity becomes so important. How can you connect with people and be helpful and generous in a time of need? And the reason why this is important is that this pandemic and the economic fallout of it is totally different from every other recession that we've ever experienced before. Because not only is it a business issue, it's a psychological issue. It's like we've been forced down Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And for the first time ever, we are afraid. We are fearful for our health, our jobs, our personal security. And you can see this behavior all around us. And seemingly simple issues can blow out of control simply because our emotions are so frayed. So we need to be hypersensitive to how our customers feel. The other dynamic to the psychological element is if you're selling services to businesses, well, there's a spectrum. What we are seeing today is some companies are thriving while others are surviving. And we see it as a spectrum of leading to bleeding. If you are selling personal protective equipment, wow, you hit the lottery. This has been an amazing year. But if you're in a restaurant or in hospitality, this has been a nightmare that you could be bleeding. Now, for most companies, we're somewhere in the middle, stable to slipping. But no matter where you are on that spectrum, you need to be taking a note of where your customers are. How are they feeling? What's their emotional state? What are they experiencing? And then what's the state of their business? And in this, we need to be truly empathetic to their needs. What great marketing does is connects with people in a way that they understand you. And in this, we are trying to create this time and this connection so that we are hyper relevant. And when you do this, you're starting to see there are immense opportunities. I think right now we are sitting in one of the greatest entrepreneurial opportunities of a generation. It's been truly remarkable. And all around us, we are seeing green shoots of opportunity. And this is really your opportunity. Now, in every recession, in every economic or natural disaster crisis, any crisis of any kind, we see green shoots. And a green shoot is new needs emerging. Today, we are communicating on Zoom and Microsoft Teams. We're social distancing. We're using e-commerce more. And these are all examples of green shoots. But let me give you an example, and we'll build this out a little bit. In the 2002, 2003 SARS pandemic in China, it convinced millions of people to embrace social distancing, just as we are today. But the green shoot of this was millions of people embraced e-commerce a decade before the rest of the world. China was the first country to truly get online, and that created a boom and a market opportunity for Alibaba to create one of the largest e-commerce companies in the world. At the start of the 2002-2003 pandemic, they were a 400-person company, still pretty large. Now they're a multi-billion-dollar company that rivals Amazon. And we are seeing the same things in North America. We are all going through a shift. We are experiencing e-commerce, we're using online conferencing, and many of today's needs are going to become tomorrow's markets. Just take curbside pickup as an example. Before the pandemic, many of us had never tried curbside pickup. Now that you've tried it, can you imagine having it taken away from you? That's really the thing here. And in all of our businesses, we are seeing the same thing. This goes so much further than simply e-commerce and Zoom meetings. Every industry is experiencing new needs and green shoots of opportunity. Let me give you a very random example here. Since the start of the pandemic, construction workers have been walking off job sites because, well, they perceive their porta potties as unhygienic. Now, at the best of times, a porta potty is not a place that you want to hang out in. It's not a comfortable space. But after COVID, these places can be downright deadly. What we have found, or what the CDC has declared, is that coronavirus can be distributed and transmitted in human waste. So rightfully so, construction workers have been concerned, and they've been demanding that construction companies clean their facilities upwards of 3 to 5 times a day. Before COVID, that might have happened only once or twice a week. And just imagine the ripple effect that creates. Now we have the service companies, the porta potty service companies coming on the job site multiple times a day, which means they have to keep their trucks on the road more often, which means they have to hire more drivers. But they're wearing their equipment out faster, so they need to buy new tires and brakes and valves and hoses and pumps. And as a result, they're calling their distributors more. and the distributors are calling on the manufacturers. And an entire supply chain is being activated by one need: how to poop safely. And we can see this taking place in every sector of the economy. And the biggest question that we've been all wrestling with is, how do employers reopen safely? Actually, the question for the fall now is, how do employers stay open safely with the rolling surges that we're facing, with the complexity that we have in different parts of the country? We are seeing shifting needs. But this is an opportunity for you. If you are creative and you look at the world around you, you can see opportunities. So three questions I want to leave you with is, how do you spot these opportunities? How do you tune your brand messaging so that it really resonates after COVID? And that is what we call crisis marketing. This is a core concept that I've been working on this year. But the questions are, who needs your company and its expertise the most right now? What products or services can you deliver to solve real problems that are valued? And then how can you proactively sell and deliver your services to the people with the most need? And the key to this whole thing is the first question: who needs your company and its expertise the most right now? And this is where you're going to start making choices that will clarify your messaging. Because when you focus on need, it gives you so much power. Your brand will never be perceived as opportunistic or icky if you are trying to be helpful, if you're trying to help people solve real problems. But the other piece of this, as you focus on need, you will find opportunity, because new needs are green shoots. And when you focus on these and when you market a message towards these, you will start to find immense opportunities all around you. And so what I'd like to really challenge you with today is how to go about doing this. And to me, the key to all of this was really going to boil down to your mindset. How can you communicate in a way that really gets people engaged, but also how do you navigate an awful situation that's changing so much around you? And what I have seen throughout this pandemic is that the entrepreneurs and the business owners and the leaders that are doing best have a warrior mindset. And in this, what we want to say today is, I'm not saying that a warrior mindset is how you lead and how you manage. It's not meant to be a top-down patriarchal thing. It's really, how do you conquer your amygdala and that fight, flight, or freeze response? How do you engage with people in a way, or how do you navigate yourself in a way that allows you to punch back and to take advantage of what's going on around you? Because I fundamentally believe this is the greatest entrepreneurial opportunity we're ever going to get. The playing field has been leveled. Our customers want us to be successful. We have access to funding, and you can innovate and experiment. If somebody says to you, well, that's not what you do, you can say that was before coronavirus. After coronavirus, you have carte blanche to change your brand messaging, to change your positioning, to change your story. And it's all going to boil down to how you navigate this situation. Since the start of this crisis, I've been saying for myself that I feel like I have been preparing for this moment my entire career. And I do, from the experience I had working inside of a family business to the work that I've done at Sticky Branding over the last 10 years, this has been some of the most purpose-driven months of my life, working with companies to help them navigate and come out of this crisis stronger than ever. But I can also tell you, through a little bit of hubris and fear, that I've also been pushing myself. Since the start of this crisis, I've been saying, F this virus. This is going to be our best year ever, and it will. We are going to conquer the obstacles. We're going to punch back. We're going to fight. We're going to serve our customers better than ever. And you will too. I'm convinced of this. I really do believe that the world needs you and your company more than ever right now. And this is why your messaging and your branding is just so important. And the key to all of this is to be helpful and to move fast. Now, what I'm going to do, we're going to pause and flip the room for some Q&A in a moment. But before I do that, let me just put out one more offer. So if you already sent me an email for the win-loss card worksheet, amazing. I'm going to put in one other piece. To go with what we've just talked about on crisis marketing, I've just put out an ebook called Crisis Marketing that shares lessons from the first 4 months of the pandemic. It's actually available up on my website, but if you send me that email, jeremy@stickybranding.com, uh, and put in the subject line worksheet, I'll send you both the win-loss card and this ebook so that you can be putting your ideas into place. All right, let's take a moment now, and I see the chat has been going along. So if you have a question, feel free to post it in the chat. Let me try and take a moment to take a look at these. And I'm going to navigate and look at this as well. So I'll share something. So Nick shared his simple clarity here, saying, I'm a hockey goalie instructor that trains individuals to become athletes. We specialize in youth who seek to play at a high level. Love it. Great job, Nick. Steven's put in one here, a fashion designer creating custom handmade leather goods in Calgary. These are amazing. So these are the types of questions that we really want to do, we want to look for. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to post them. Let me try and go up to some of the previous questions here. So Kimmy's asked, her number one burning marketing challenge is finding where my desired niche clients are hanging out. This is a great question, Kimmy, and what I'm actually going to give you is a slightly different way to think about this, which is who knows about your clients or your clients' needs before you do. So one of the challenges, we're always trying to find where our clients are, but often it's easier to find the people who already know about them or have a relationship with them, but might know their need first. For example, take it if you're a bookkeeper. A bookkeeper might want to be building relationships with accounting firms, CPAs, because they will possibly know about doing the year end and the client's books are a mess and be able to refer you business. So rather than trying to find customers that might be hidden, ask the question, who knows about a need before you do? Tammy's asked her challenge in terms of staying consistent on social media. Tammy, I fully agree with where you are on this one as well. We all struggle with this. Now, one of the things I would suggest is to really master getting into using a scheduling tool like, actually the tool that I use is called CoSchedule or coschedule.com. It integrates right into WordPress. And the benefit for me is when I write a blog post, I can schedule a year worth of content right on that same day. And that allows me to keep all my channels full. So I really think that keeping social up to date and constant is more a question of scheduling than trying to be live posting, because we never have time in our day to fill this up. One more question here from Tina. Where do I get the best ROI? Print, digital, Facebook? This is actually a really great question because this is something that I think we all wrestle with. And the best answer I can give for you on this is there is no one answer. There's not even industry specific because you can have two companies in the same industry that are dealing with these challenges in different ways. And so the thing is to look at where your leads are coming from. Look where your customers are coming from. I talked to a car dealership yesterday, and they have, or an auto group, and they have 3 dealerships. In Kitchener, people bring in print flyers and use those as coupons. In Waterloo, they don't. It's all digital. So tracking where your leads are coming from are going to give you an indication of who to engage with and which channels are working best. And part of it is just going to be making a commitment to spend time working on the places that matter most. Now, Jennifer, you asked the email. It's jeremy@stickybranding.com. So Jeremy @stickybranding.com. And I'll put up another slide in a moment on that. Amanda's put up a great question here. How do you balance the time between marketing, social media, and work? I fully agree with this. Again, I think scheduling is everything. I am using tools constantly in my business. Sticky Branding is a small business. We have 3 employees. And so we use CoSchedule to manage our social media. We use a tool called Active Campaign for marketing automation and email. And we are just disciplined in choosing where we put our time. Not all marketing is good marketing. It's that pee-wee hockey concept. How can you get the messaging and spend the time speaking to the people that matter? Now, I think Simple Clarity gives you that first platform of what's going to matter most. When you choose who you serve, you can be specific. For example, if your audience is trying to engage business owners that are between 50 and 65 years old, chances are they're not on social media. So why spend all this time on social media if that was the case? Understand who you're trying to reach so that you can choose where to prioritize your time. Sean's asked the question of how do we attract high value clients and understand who are low value clients? This is a good part of Simple Clarity, Sean. This is really a challenge where you want to be able to uh, speak to who your customers are. Sorry, let me take a step back. Understanding who your high value clients are is to take a step back to profile your customers. Who's generating the most revenue? Who are the most profitable accounts? Who are the accounts that you want to do the most work with? And if you can get deliberate on who you want to serve, all the better. Now, we've got tons of questions going on here, and I don't want to chew everybody's ears off. So let me just do a quick scan here to see if there's any other ones. Jill, so co-schedule is not free. I think I pay about $15 or $20 a month for that one. So here's the deal. Let me take a step back. I'm gonna try and wrap up with a final thought, and then I'm gonna put my contact information out there so that if you have any additional questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you. So let me just wrap some final thoughts up. My favorite quote is this. Dr. Seuss said it best. Why fit in when you were born to stand out? Why fit in when you were born to stand out? To me, this is what branding is all about. What we are trying to do is make our businesses stand out so that our customers are attracted to us. Any company of any size can grow a sticky brand. And that's really what this is what we're trying to do. And to do that, anyone can do this. It's all about creating that first choice advantage. When your customers know you, like you, and trust you, they will choose you first. And if you can continue to build those relationships, they will come back to you again and again. But the foundation to everything is what we've talked about this afternoon, which is simple clarity, being able to describe your brand and what makes it unique in ideally 10 words or less. Now, if you have any questions, if I didn't get a chance to answer any of your questions in the Q&A, feel free to contact me. I'm on all the social networks at Sticky Branding, and I'm on LinkedIn at Jeremy Miller. Just send me a DM. I'll be happy to try and answer your questions and carry on the conversation. And again, if you'd like to get a copy of the worksheet or the win-loss card or the crisis marketing ebook, just send me a quick email, jeremy@stickybranding.com. I've never actually published this worksheet live, so this is exclusive to you. If you'd like a copy, just shoot me a note and I'll be happy to send it your way. But I'm so grateful for your time and your participation today. I hope you got tons of value out of this. And I hope you're able to take these ideas and these exercises so that you too can get simple clarity and make your business take off. Thank you.